when I was growing up, in my teens, things were a little different from the way they are now. I grew up, my big brother loved heavy metal music. And so obviously I shared a room with him, so I heard heavy metal music all the time. So I grew up listening to heavy metal music, and I grew to like heavy metal music. And there were, at that time of life in those years, people who liked heavy metal music kind of grouped themselves. They were called rockers. And you knew a rocker because they wore denim jeans, denim jackets with lots of patches on. They'd have studs on their patches, on their jeans. Maybe if they were really cool, they'd have a leather jacket, leather biker jacket, which was even better. And the rockers used to gather together, and you know, and as they got older, they got motorbikes as well. So the rockers would have like Harley Davidsons and big motorbikes and drive around in gangs, that sort of stuff. Now there are other groups as well. I don't know if you've heard of them. The mods. Anybody heard of the mods? Now they didn't like heavy metal. They liked, I think ska was a type of music, and I can't remember what else they called, but they used to wear different clothes so that you'd know that they were not rockers or anything else. And they used to wear kind of browny green Parker jackets and other types of clothes. I'm not sure, I can't remember exactly. I wasn't a mod, so I'm not exactly sure the sort of clothes. But then as they got older as well, they would have their own motorbikes, and they had a particular type of motorbike that they would ride. It was called a Vespa. Am I really showing my age? Nobody else remembers this? No? Okay. Well, this is okay. And what used to happen is the mods and the rockers did not get along. They were different. A mod wouldn't be seen with a rocker, and a rocker wouldn't be seen with a mod. But when they did meet, and they often met at the beach boulevard, okay, when they did meet, it was usually to fight. They would get together and they'd have big fights at the beach boulevard. This is like the 80s, okay, that sort of time. And then over time, another group appeared. It wasn't about music with them. They were about football. And they were called the casuals. And the casuals wore a different type of clothing again. They actually looked very smart. They wore kind of nice, what did they wear? Puller neck, puller neck shirts, Burberry clothes, caps. You know, they were kind of smart. And they looked like really decent folk on the outside. But they would also join in the fights, and they were quite a violent bunch as well. And they didn't like the rockers, and they didn't like the casuals, and they didn't like the mods. And the mods didn't like the rockers, and they didn't like the casuals. And the rockers didn't like the casuals or the mods. So there's lots of fighting. Thankfully, you hardly see that. Oh, there's also the goths. You know about the goths? The goths like another type of music, and they would wear black, and they'd look like vampires, and things like that. I think they're still around. But anyway, they were also involved. They were a very peaceful bunch. They didn't fight with anybody. They just got beaten up, which is sad. But they were nice people. I had good friends who were goths as well. Anyway, why am I bringing all that up? Because it's interesting how we tend to gather with people who have the same things in common with us, who perhaps think the same way we do, have similar interests, have similar values. You know, that sort of way? And when the people who don't, who have very different values, very different ways of thinking, we tend to avoid them. Being around them isn't so comfortable. It's a bit difficult. Yes? So, that's a reality. And so we're not attracted to those things which are very different from us. And in the first reading, we hear something that's not the first reading, the second reading, that's very different from us. We hear St. Paul talking about the presence of God coming. He says, what we're coming to is nothing known by the senses. And he's speaking about, you know, when he speaks about this, he He says, not a blazing fire or gloom turning to total darkness or a storm or trumpeting thunder or a voice speaking that made everyone heard it beg that no more should be said to them. What he's speaking about is when God appeared on Mount Sinai to give the commandments. And he appeared in blazing fire, gloom turning to total darkness, storm, trumpeting thunder, and his voice spoke the commandments. And when his voice was heard by the people, they couldn't take it and they wanted it to stop. And God often for us, this is the image we have of God as someone who is so totally different, above, all-powerful, and distant from us, unapproachable. And because of that, we want to stay away. I don't know if I could actually come. We're told to love this God. How could I love this being who is so utterly different? And then Paul speaks about something else. We're not coming to that, he said. We're not coming to this blazing fire, etc. He says, what you've come to is Mount Zion and the city of the living God, the heavenly Jerusalem with millions of angels. And he says, where everybody is a firstborn son, a citizen of heaven. You've come to God himself. The image changes from one of frightening power to one of family. A place where everybody is a son, where everybody is at home, where everybody belongs. Where everybody belongs. And he's speaking about heaven. Heaven which starts here and now. Heaven which starts today in this place now. Where everybody is a firstborn son, where everybody belongs. That's what we should experience when we're here. That's what we should experience in our relationship with God. And this is the experience that should continue till after we're dead, which will be perfected in heaven. Have you heard the expression, show me your friend? No, what is it? In Spanish, they're telling me it's, show me who you walk with and I'll tell you who you are. Is that an English expression? Show me your friends and I'll tell you who you are. Okay, so if I'm walking about as a rocker, dressed as a rocker, and my friends are all rockers, then I'm a rocker, and the likelihood is I'm going out beating some mods up on a Saturday night. Okay? Show me who your friends are and I'll tell you who you are. And that's important. Why is it important? Because the question is, who are we? Who are we? Who are we? Who are you? Who are your friends? And is your friend God? Is your friend Jesus? The way we act should show that, the way our actions, the way we behave. Jesus is God, this all-powerful God who made himself known on Mount Sinai and seemed to be so distant, and yet this all-powerful God became a human being, became a baby. We're hearing babies, we're looking at babies there. This all-powerful God became a little child, a human being, powerless, a nothing. He humbled himself for our sake. He became nothing for our sake. He became helpless for our sake. And he is still helpless in the Eucharist when he comes to us, because we can hold him in the palm of our hand and we can consume him. This is the type of God we have. This is the God we have. God who is loving and humble. Show me your friends and I'll show you who you are. If God is our friend, then that love and that humility which God has will be reflected in our lives. Others will see that. You know, when you go to nightclubs sometimes and there's huge queues, and they're waiting for people to come in. What happened? When you go, yeah, you still go. I'm sure you're still going. Yes. They're laughing because obviously they go, okay. When some people go to nightclubs and there's huge clues, I've seen it on TV. You hear about it in movies and stuff like that. And everybody else is in a big queue. And then somebody famous comes along. They recognize the face. They say, oh, we know you. Come in. You don't have to wait. You can get straight in. In a way, heaven is like that, you know? Heaven is like that. And those at the gate are waiting for a face they recognize. The face that they recognize is Jesus. It's his face. It's him. If we are friends with Jesus here on earth, we become like Jesus here on earth. People start to see Jesus in us here on earth, so that when we get to heaven, they see Jesus coming, and the doors are ready and open for us.